Yeah, Annabelle, the state of the property market across Australia is holding up pretty well. As always, there's property markets within property markets. Australia is made up of thousands of micro property markets around the country. But generally, because of record low interest rates, JobKeeper, and a real lack of supply, we're finding that most of the property markets around the country are holding up pretty well, which has meant prices have stabilised and the large falls that were anticipated just haven't materialised.
Been a fair bit of concern around the COVID crisis and what that would mean for property valuation and rents, and how that would affect those markets. What we've found for our clients is that as long as they're purchasing properties in really owner-occupier areas where there's not a lot of supply, the rental market's held up really well. We had an example of a couple of clients who settled on a property in Brisbane, and those properties were rented before settlement. So the rental markets remain quite strong in certain markets. It has been affected in other markets where you've got lots of Airbnbs which are being converted into traditional rentals. And then from a valuation perspective, we've seen valuations very strong across both Brisbane and Melbourne markets. We had clients who have purchased some apartments in Collingwood, and valuation, there was no concerns there. And then we've also had some clients purchase in townhouses in Brisbane and no concerns there either. So we've seen the market hold up quite well, but it's just about identifying those right pockets.
Yeah, I think it's a really good question. So short answer, I don't think it'll have the impact that some people might think, because we're already sort of seeing what impact through the rental market that was proposed, and it's really been quite minimal, around 1 to 5%. So I think, again, there are markets within markets. Those markets that have got an oversupply of properties are probably much more likely to be impacted, but those tightly held owner-occupier markets are probably going to hold up really well. And again, we've got record low interest rates and very limited supply. And there's also needs to be a place for investors to put their money, especially when we've got a very volatile share market. So I think it's probably not going to have the impact that people may perceive, but only time will tell.
So the $25,000 home builder scheme, it's probably not going to have that much of an impact on investors. It's more targeted towards the owner-occupier market. There's a fair bit of criteria that has to be met for you to be eligible for the scheme, but I don't think it's going to have that big of an impact over the property market. We might see a little bit of an increase in demand from owner-occupiers on new properties, where they can take advantage of that. But again, I don't think it's going to have that much of an impact on the property market in terms of increasing demand, but time will tell again.
I mean, I tend to feel that those markets that rely a lot on overseas investment, so your big apartment markets selling to, say, a Chinese market, might be sort of struggling a little bit at the moment.
Yep.
But the markets that predominantly are driven by local owner-occupiers, first home buyers, I think they'll be holding up really well. And because we have such sort of tight supply, I don't see prices falling. I mean, the sort of numbers that were talked about between 20 and 40% never materialised.
Yeah.
So I think if anything, we'll start to see some strengthening. What do you think?
Yeah, I also think, I mean, confidence has been down with COVID around, but I think as we come out of this period and we see how well the country's done in dealing with it, to date anyway, we're likely to see confidence come back into the market. People return to those really strong owner-occupier areas where we're seeing really low supply, and also the rental markets remain quite strong in those sort of areas. So it really just depends on where you're investing, but I think there's a positive outlook for the property market for the rest of the year.
Yeah, look, as always, we would welcome any questions. And if anyone would like to get in contact, please contact us on the link below. Cheers.